It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Back to the program. We got Fort Smith attorney on the line. Joey McCutchen is back with us. Joey, thanks for coming on this morning.
Hey, great to be back. Thank you, Paul.
So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about where we are right now with this Ecclesia College Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. There's a lot of people that want to know about this land deal, this General Improvement Fund money that went to buy this land that was valued at $200,000, but then they bought it for $600,000. Talk a little bit about where we are now, Joey.
Well, that's a great question. Where we are now is where we were before, in the dark, because Ecclesia, through its lawyers, Travis Story and Bob Ballinger, Mr. Ballinger says that he's not the lawyer. Well, that's curious. He did the deed work for this $200,000 value of $200,000 that Ecclesia paid $675,000 for. But anyway, they put up a stone wall, basically continuing the claim that they're a private. I guess they're calling themselves a church now, as opposed to a school in their pleadings. But so they're stonewalling. We filed a motion to compel documents as it relates to the illegal exaction. So they still have time to respond. I believe they have several more days where they can respond. But at that point, if they don't produce the documents that we've asked for, we're going to ask the court to set it for a hearing. Okay.
And so do we think it's going to be what, like after the primary, before we actually see any of these documents?
Yeah, it looks like that it's going to be after the primary, unfortunately. I think the voters should be entitled to see all of these documents. Again, why would this college fight so hard to protect these documents? And it just has all the makings of of impropriety, and certainly it gives the appearance of impropriety. Mm-hmm. And I just think that the voters, particularly in this primary between Senator King and Representative Ballinger, deserve to have all the information.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. So this land deal, this is from the Southwest Times Record. They wrote that the house and property, which was 3870 Owls Drive in Springdale, was sold for $675,000 to Ecclesia College, had been valued by the county at $204,600 on December 2nd, 2013. Ballinger said Friday the reason the land sold for more than 3 times its estimated value was because of the US 412 Northern Bypass. Ballinger is running for the Senate District 5 against incumbent state senator Brian King. But then the paper quotes Bob Ballinger saying, quote, "There was no GIF money at that time," Ballinger said in relation to the Hollingsworth land purchase by Ecclesia. No GIF money was involved in that transaction. Now, Joey, I've got some documents here that can prove that statement to be completely false. Are you aware of this?
I am. I've actually got the document too. Got a letter here dated September 25th, 2013, from J. Michael Norton to Warren Paris of Ecclesia College, stating that the Northwest Arkansas Economic Development District is pleased to notify you that it has approved a General Improvement Funds grant to Ecclesia College, and it was CC'd to the Honorable Bob Allen Ballinger, and it says that the grant, the GIF grant, is a community development grant to Ecclesia College. The funds were appropriated to the GIF program through an act sponsored by Arkansas State Representative Bob Ballinger. And, Representative Ballinger goes on to state also that no gift money was involved in that transaction. I mean, this application from Orrin Paris for the $5,000 from Representative Ballinger states that the project summary is 23 acres of property acquisition to provide for much-needed additional student residence space. I mean, that's just not truthful. It is just not truthful. It's it's kind of like
you're looking right now. I mean, I'm looking at right now a check for $5,000 from the Northwest Arkansas Economic Development District. The date is September 25th, 2013. I mean, this is the check. This is Ballinger's $5,000. Going towards it, right? I mean, is that accurate?
That's exactly accurate. But it also, Paul, going back to the legislative session in 2017, as a transparency advocate, I sat in the hearings on Senate Bill 373, which would have basically gutted FOIA and created this attorney-client exception. Mr. Ballinger publicly has stated that there was no organized opposition against 373. That's just a falsehood.
Yeah.
I mean, the Arkansas Press Association was right there with me, was right there with my transparency advocate Jim Parsons from Northwest Arkansas, among others. There was massive organized opposition. Professor Robert Steinbuck from the who wrote the FOIA book was involved he wasn't actually at the hearings because he was out of town, but he was actively involved in fighting against 373. So, it's not like it's he said, she said thing. I mean, we've got actual videos of that, just like we have actual documents to prove that what Representative Ballinger's saying is just not truthful when it comes to these sunshine issues. And, Paul, as we know, the only thing that holds government accountable there's two things, and hopefully we'll talk about the second one in a minute, but the first one is our Freedom of Information Act, and the second one, as our founders knew, was the right to trial by jury.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both under attack.
I want to talk about that second one here in just a minute, but I want to kind of put a bookend on this when it comes to the general thing with Bob Ballinger is this. He directed general improvement funds to his client. I mean, that's accurate, right? He directed general improvement funds to Ecclesia, which is a client of his. I mean,
that's absolutely true.
And that doesn't look good. I mean, at the very least, it doesn't look good considering everybody, all the corruption that we're seeing, being prosecuted right now. And then you look at the land deal, and you were quoted, Joey, as saying in this Southwest Times piece, no one pays more than fair market value to cash in when properties go up. They buy at fair market to benefit. Also, why, when the college was struggling, invest in a land gamble? I'm told there have been no real estate value shown even close to it. So there's just something suspect about this land deal, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I say provide the documents. I mean, talk about it. We saw an excellent piece, not only by John Lovett at the Southwest Times that you're referring to, but also Mike Masterson wrote on this. Mm-hmm. And now there's only more questions because when asked about this land transaction, where they pay $675,000 for property valued at $200,000, all we get are more things that are not truthful, more statements by Representative Ballinger that are not truthful. And
do you think the Southwest Times are going to correct the record? I mean, when it comes to what he said in this piece, I mean, what he said in this John Lovett piece, which again is a good piece, but when he says that there was no GIF money at that time, and yet Those of you watching at conduitnews.com or YouTube or facebook.com/conduitnews, I mean, we just showed the documents saying that at that time, in fact, when the land deal was done, there was general improvement fund money that was going for that, for the purchase of the land.
Well, it's easily provable, and I can't predict what the Southwest Times Record will do, but I certainly think that they would have a follow-up story to again talk about the inaccuracies, the what appears to be just false lies.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Joey. Let's talk about issue number 1 on the ballot, SJR 8. If we can keep with this race, with Bob Ballinger challenging Brian King. Bob Ballinger's very proud of this tort reform amendment. He goes around talking about how great it is. It, of course, I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I don't support it. I'm going to vote against it. And this is we've got. Let me just ask you this. Bob Ballinger, when he came on the show last, he said that the family counsel and trial attorneys are participating in an unholy alliance. And from my standpoint, I just think, no, I think, if you've got a pro-life organization, they're just looking about, we want to be pro-life from conception all the way to natural death. And this was a bill written for for nursing home owners, wasn't it?
Well, it absolutely was. And if you'll give me a minute or two, I'd like to address what's happening here. You want to talk about an unholy alliance. Number one, we have to, again, go back to Jake Files, Senator Jake Files, who is going to be sentenced June 18th for wire fraud, money laundering regarding to another GIF transaction in Fort Smith on the River Valley Sports Complex. But the interesting thing, Paul, is that there was another great reporting by John Lovett, Southwest Times Record, who has reported that Sebastian County prosecuting Danny Shue has asked the feds about the $80,000 wire transfer from nursing home owner David Norsworthy to Files. 1 week after tort reform, SJR 1 was introduced in 2014. So that could be a very, very interesting development. Who knows, we may have a prosecution of a nursing home owner, David Norsworthy. Norsworthy nor Senator Files have given any explanation for the $80,000 wire transfer. So we'll see what the feds do on that, whether we're going to have further prosecutions of David Norsworthy.
Well, I think, we were talking with Jerry Cox last week of the Family Council, and he said he's heard from legislators who, he didn't name any names, but who originally supported this, but are now coming out and they're saying, I think I'm changing my mind on this. I don't think this is the kind of tort reform we need. And you know what? Something's dawning on me, Joey. It may be because they're realizing about this $80,000 and the fact that this is for the nursing home owners. That's what this bill, this SJR 8 is for. It's specifically crafted for them. And if there's about to be a big blow up of prosecutions over this, why would we want to support, a level of corruption that is, about to be exposed to everybody in the headlines?
Well, it's not just Jerry Cox of the Family Council who's against this, because it places an arbitrary value on human life of the elderly, of children who may be raped, of stay-at-home mothers. It's Rose Mims of Arkansas Right to Life who has said, that she thinks that this bill will attract abortionists to our state. And let me mention this. Are you aware that the DHS has just taken over 2 nursing homes run by Skyline Arkansas Healthcare?
No, sir.
Which run 2 nursing homes in Hazen and Dirks. Also, an interesting connection. Did you know that while the states haven't had to take over these nursing homes because they're not delivering and food's not accessible for the residents apparently, and their safety's endangered. This same group gave $10,000 to the last tort reform effort. While they can't provide quality care to their own residents, they're given $10,000. This out-of-state nursing home company from New Jersey is giving $10,000 to a tort reform effort. That's only one of the scandals involving nursing homes. Did you hear about the Highland?
Nope. Joey, are you there? We lost you. We lost Joey McCutchen. We'll see if we can't get him back. We got to take a break anyway. Don't go anywhere, folks. Back in just a moment. We lost Fort Smith attorney Joey McCutchen, but we got him back on the program. Joey, we're going to wrap things up here, but I will say this. As you were describing that, this issue one, the bad tort reform, people on Facebook saying that this sounds like organized crime. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, we've got not only that, not only do we have the Files Norsworthy $880,000 wire transfer, looks like a bribe to get their tort reform passed. Now we've got the DHS taking over Skyline nursing homes, taking over 2 nursing homes for poor quality of care. We see that same nursing home chain, an out-of-state nursing home chain, is given big bucks, $10,000 to try to pass tort reform to take away the rights of the elderly. And Paul, also we see the Highlands Holding Group, which is again another out-of-state nursing home owner, recently going belly up. They also gave $12,000 to the Arkansas Healthcare Association, of which David Norsworthy is a board member.
Gosh.
You know, and these out-of-state. Can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
These out-of-state nursing home owners at this Highlands group that just went bankrupt. Their operators took $4.3 million through their management company and left creditors holding the bag for over $5 million.
Wow.
And if we think we're going to see less of this, if we pass this so-called tort reform, this government takeover of our court system, massive government overreach, then what we're going to see is we're going to see poor quality of care increase in the state of Arkansas through nursing homes. Conduct rewarded is conduct repeated.
Yeah.
And we're going to see bad nursing home, out-of-state nursing home owners flocking to our state, and our elderly are going to suffer greatly. We can't let that happen, Paul.
Joey McCutchen, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the program. We'll do this again soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Hey, folks,